Here is an example of a foundation with one of the cross members broken. This particular one's broken because there's a knot running all the way through it, so this actually qualifies as a manufacturer defect. I spoke with the manufacturer and they will for sure give us credit for any broken boards that have a knot running through them like this that caused the break. So we go through the process, take the pictures, we can work with merchandising if needed, and they will get us taken care of on those. And actually, for any manufacturer defects, that's the best process, because as we make merchandising and our manufacturing partners more aware of their defects, naturally they're going to increase their quality, and also it helps with our buying power when we are able to speak about what we're getting and be able to make improvements that way. Manufacturing defects aside, I know that oftentimes we'll find these foundations broken because of customer neglect. It could be something our employees did. It could be kids jumping on the bed. Whatever the case may be, this repair applies to any kind of break, of course. Even the most splintered of boards can be repaired this way. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is get a couple of pieces of 1x2, and oftentimes I can just get this from scrap from other broken boards, but at any rate it's a very low cost item. I'm going to cut them the exact same length because I think I'll probably put a splint on both sides. Before applying glue, I'm going to confirm that the splint board sits perfectly flush against the broken board. You'll notice that the wires underneath can stick out side to side, and usually we can just kind of push those to make sure the surfaces mate up perfectly together top to bottom. Next, I'll apply a generous ribbon of glue from one end to the other, exactly where the two surfaces will mate up. I recommend using a clamp on this part to ensure the boards are mated perfectly and to guarantee that you've got great contact and high pressure so that the glue will have maximum bonding capability. Initially, you'll notice that the boards don't line up perfectly in most cases, but that will be corrected as we make this repair. First, clamp the splint to the first side of the break, making sure that the top seam is perfectly aligned from one end to the other. Again, I recommend you use a narrow crown stapler and check the length to make sure you're getting at least 3/4 through the second piece of wood. I'll shoot 2 or 3 staples into this first piece to make sure it's locked exactly where we need it. And when I take the clamp off, I'll be able to get additional staples in that piece also if I feel it's necessary. Then I'll remove the clamp, place it on the second half, and this is where I'm able to make sure that it's lined up perfectly. You'll notice as I push down, it makes a perfect alignment and keeps that rail completely flat, just as it would have been from the manufacturer. The staples are great, but the true strength of this repair actually comes from the glue, and that's why it's critical to make sure the surface mate perfectly, top to bottom on these splints, and also from one end to the other. If done properly, you'll have glue seeping out from the whole length of the seam, just like you see here on this repair. Though I don't believe it's necessary on this particular repair, I'm going to show splinting the second side, and this would be handy in the event that you have one that's heavily splintered and just needs extra reinforcement. If you have a good table saw, which most repair areas do that I've observed, I recommend ripping one of these 1x2s so that it's about 1 inch wide and 3/4 tall, the full length of the splint. That way it allows the 1x2 to sit above the wire because the wire protrudes out either one side or the other, and this allows the splint to sit totally flush against the cross support on the opposite side. As you can see here, it sits above these wires. Now on this side, I'll follow the exact same process, putting a generous ribbon of glue down, and because the cross support was already aligned with the first splint, this one should just mate up perfectly. And you may clamp it if you'd like, but it's probably not necessary for sake of time. Once again, you should see glue squeezing out from the entire edge like you see here. And again, be generous with your staples. This is one of my favorite pieces in repair. It's a Milwaukee cordless stapler, and it's excellent for fastening dust covers and other things back together. You can see here that for sake of time, I just took a razor and cut all this rather than pulling all the staples out to peel this back, and you may choose to replace the dust cover also, just depending on the severity of its damage. But in this case, I'm just going to staple it back down for demonstration, and we will have this foundation back on the road immediately. This total repair takes about 5 to 10 minutes max.